I'm Dr. Kimberly Manning.
And this is Dr. Ashley McMullen. And you're listening to the Human Doctor Podcast, where we explore the human side of medicine, along with teaching, living, learning, and all things in between. Using the power of storytelling, conversation, and connectedness.
Hey, we're two dope academic internal medicine doctors, but we ain't your doctors. So if you perceive anything we say here as medical advice, no, it ain't that. Also, the things we say, they only reflect our brilliant Black woman magic mind and not our employers.
You could have been anywhere, y'all, but you chose to be here with us, and we appreciate you. Let's go.
Good to see you today.
Likewise.
Virtually, per usual.
I know, but it's almost like we're together. I can envision where you're sitting right now.
Yeah, and I can envision where you're sitting right now. And I'm like, looking at books behind you and all that stuff. It's good.
I will say I've accumulated so many just in the course of, this so far 2 month sabbatical. Like you should see the downstairs part of my apartment. It's getting to that point where it's just like, it's excessive. Like stuff is not neatly placed anymore.
I love it. Do you ever buy a book that like you just want the book, but you're not sure if you're going to ever read it?
100%. Or I buy books that I've already read, but I don't have the physical copy.
Okay.
Or like I got it from the library or read it like on my Kindle, and it's just like, I want this on my shelf, even if I never open it. I just want it here.
I like it. All right. I do that sometimes. I mean, yeah, I've listened to it on audio or I just think the book looks cool. And I'm like, at some point, me and this book will acquaint ourselves better. Especially if I'm in like a small bookstore and I feel like I need to buy a book.
Yes.
I'm like, I'm not even really, I have books on my shelves, but I'm now, because the way my life is, I mostly listen to things.
Mm-hmm.
But some books I feel like one I should have in my hands just to own it. And then the other part is that if I'm in somebody's bookstore and I'm perusing, I should buy something.
Yes, I am guilty of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Multiple times over.
So let's check in. How are you doing today on a scale of 1 to 5, Dr. McMullen?
I'm going to give myself like 4.6.
Oh, 4.6 is good.
Yeah, I'll take it.
That's solid.
I'm going to be traveling again starting tomorrow.
Yay.
And, I realized that I've done nothing to prepare for it, which is, part of this bohemian lifestyle that I'm living. But also certain things do need to be in place, like my TSA pre-check, which I realize expires next week. But I was excited to see that there was actually a pre-check renewal office literally down the street from my house. I got extraordinarily lucky. So I was able to swing by and do that. But there is a lot of other stuff that I should do.
Are you going somewhere good?
Yes, I am.
Oh, okay, cool. Well,
you'll find out next week.
I know. I was about to say, we ain't gonna tell everybody where you're going and have some up to the minute knowing what's going on with you. That's exciting.
Yeah. So
it's really exciting.
Make sure to pack the mic and,
Cool. Well, I am a fulfilled 4.9.
I am here for that.
Yep, I'm feeling really good today. I had a lovely morning in clinic with some great residents. Saw some patients that we had been seeing for a while. That was good. But I just had a lovely, lovely weekend. Went to one of my favorite cities, Philadelphia, which never, ever, ever disappoints me. If you're listening to this podcast from Philadelphia, shout out to you. If you are listening to this podcast from Philadelphia and you are my friend and I did not call you while I was in Philadelphia, still shout out to you because your city offers so much that though my heart wanted to call you, I just didn't have time. I was too busy doing stuff. Because whenever I go to Philly, I normally go for some reason. I just go for a very brief time. So I got there super late at night on Friday, just packed the whole day Saturday hanging out with my friend Angela, who works at Wharton. Shout out to Wharton. Came back yesterday afternoon and immediately got home, changed clothes, and met a good friend on the Beltline and went for a lovely, long, luscious walk and talk.
Ah,
Yeah, It was just a weekend filled with women who are smart and intellectually curious and great conversationalists. But Philly, I went to like, remember I always tell you like I go to a bookstore there. So
Harriet's.
the first time I went to Harriet's, the last time I went to Uncle Bobby's, before that, this time I went to a bookstore called Booked. It was in Chestnut Hill. It was extraordinarily cute. And while I was in there, me and these like random ladies, plus my friend, we all got in this whole, like, it was like a mini book club. So cool. And then a beautiful book about our friend Uncle Jimmy
Hmm. Hmm.
sitting on the table. And I was like, this needs to go home with me. A big,
Okay.
his biography, autobiography, or I think it's a biography. I don't know. It's a
Is it
very,
Baldwin?
yeah,
A love
Baldwin.
story?
Oh, wait, is it a love story?
It's a white cover with his face on it.
Yes. Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
I am
Is it a
obsessed.
biography or autobiography?
It's a biography by Nicholas Boggs.
Oh, okay. Sorry, Nicholas. But it was so pretty and luscious and spoke to my spirit just from looking at it that I was like,
You
oh
need to
my
have that book.
goodness.
It
Yes.
is one of the best books I've ever read in my life. Yep, that's it.
Ah,
Did I tell you I met the author? Did we talk about that?
no.
Sorry, I'm just raining on your shit. I'm
No, no, no,
sorry.
no, no. No, I love it. 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 No, no, no. Tell me about you meeting the author.
No, I may have talked about this before, but the author, Mr. Boggs, was on a tour throughout several places in the country when that book came out, and I saw that he was going to be in Oakland, not even a few blocks from where I live, and he was so kind. When you see that book and then you look at the author, you might feel a little bit of dissonance in terms of how did this person end up writing this biography.
Hmm.
But once you meet him, you'll understand, or listen to him speak, you'll understand. Because I know he's done a lot of interviews, but one, beautiful writing, beautiful subject, incredible author.
Mm,
So he was very, very nice.
I love that. I love that. Well, it's funny. I bought the book because I just loved what it looked like, and I love all things James Baldwin. And I
Mhm.
pretty much said to like the book owners, the bookshop owners who do not know me, I was like, you know what? If this man was alive at the same time as me and like proximate to me, we would be friends. I would be trying to figure out how to be down with him and be his friend.
Mhm.
I don't know. He's just such an interesting and courageous person. And
Yeah.
yes, so I just wanted the book. I just want to have it sitting on a shelf somewhere or on a table somewhere so people can be like, oh, you like Baldwin? And I can be like,
Mhm.
hell yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
So yes. And then we had our inaugural Emory Internal Medicine Writers Workshop.
What? That's so
Mm-hmm.
cool.
It happened
Shoot.
on we didn't do multiple days. It was from 12 to 7 on Friday, which was what I did right before I went straight to the airport to go to Philly. It was an intensive. We had residents apply. There were 8 residents who
Wow.
participated. It was off-site. It involved us workshopping pieces and them going for, walks for inspiration on the Beltline in Atlanta, and coming back and them doing some free writing and then us just workshopping them things. And it was great.
Shoot, I'm over here taking notes. You might hear about a UCSF internal medicine workshop happening.
Yeah, you should. We should do that. I mean,
That's so cool. That is so needed. Folks are always looking for these spaces, but it's hard to kind of
Mhm.
get the momentum to get it going.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. I'm so
Yeah.
excited about that.
And shout out to Anna Reisman, who leads the Yale Literary Workshop.
Hmm.
She's been doing this for years. Their structure is a lot different than this. It's multiple touch points and everything, but we wanted something that residents would get time protected to come to it, but not multiple days. But the goal from it is for you to publish something. But a lot of inspiration from Anna Reisman and what they do at Yale. So shout out to her. I just had to give props.
Yeah, amen. And were
Yes.
you were you leading or were you a participant?
I was co-leading it. It was
Okay.
myself and my fellow MedPeds trained colleague in my division, Emily Pinto Taylor,
Hmm.
one of the smartest, most enthusiastic, most energetic people one could ever work with. So it was lovely, lovely, lovely to work with her. And if y'all ain't never heard of Emily Pinto Taylor, you should Google her so that you can read some of her beautiful narratives that she's published. One in particular that she wrote is called So Visibly a Mother, and it was in JAMA, and it was an essay about seeming like a mom to somebody and how she realized that that was a good thing.
Man,
Yeah, very affirming.
I love that.
Yeah, she's a beautiful writer and a beautiful person. So,
Hmm. Okay. Well, I know that we can meander for long walks on our shared love of books and writing, everything in between. So let us bring each other back to the reason for this season and also why my previous 4.6 is now 4.9, because I just realized I am not telling the story today. And that fills me with so much joy because I get to sit comfortably in my chair and hear the words of wisdom from Dr. Manning straight from the source. Girl, what's the what?
The what is ordinary?
Ordinary. I
Yeah,
like it.
ordinary. What do you think of when you hear the word ordinary?
You know, my mind immediately went to a phrase that you've said before, which is extraordinary, ordinary. And I love that because, it ties into so much around like beauty, simplicity, a lot of Zen philosophy, which is just like, we spend so much time chasing the big stuff, but it's the ordinary that really, when you look at it, it's the most magical. I don't know if that's where you were going with it, but it made me excited to remember that phrase.
Well, you know me very well because this is exactly what I'm getting at.
Okay, well, that I didn't know that ahead of time, y'all.
You didn't.
That
No,
was not a plant.
yeah, we never know. I literally crossed the street from clinic, logged on, and we here we are. So I have a habit of reflection and a habit of appreciating the extraordinary slivers of ordinary moments. And, as I was reflecting about like what story I would tell, I was just realizing that, you know, some of the joy that I feel on many days is just an amalgamation of many little points of ordinary moments that are good. And so I had been thinking about some moments that I experienced that were small, little tiny things that like nothing about it, anybody else would see it as anything, but how through a habit of reflection, I was able to kind of zone in on aspects of it that made it like really, really joyful to me. So instead of giving you one big story, I'm just going to share a few of these moments that were sort of extraordinary, ordinary moments in my life. I do want to acknowledge, though I was doing this before, I do feel like it added to my practice when I read Ross Gay's The Book
Mhm.
of Delights.
Think about that.
Because really, what Ross Gay was doing was delighting at his extraordinary perception on very ordinary things. And he just wrote it all out. And I just loved that. And I was like, gosh, that is something that I do, but I realized that I could become even more intentional about it. So I'm just going to share probably no rhyme or reason, but I had thought about a few of them and for myself kind of jotted a few of them down. So I was driving to work last week. My clinic session starts at about 8:30, which means that my commute to work is during the time when kids are going to school. On the way, I see this group of kids and they are sitting on these, I guess, what looks like somebody's stoop near their house, but their way is one of the bus stops. So all of the kids clearly do not live there. And they're all like leaned over something together. And they appear to be like tweens, probably like 11 or 12. And everybody's like leaned over something and they're looking and they're like very into whatever this is. As I get closer to them, it becomes apparent to me what they're looking at. And there was a book. It was an actual book. I don't know what was going on in the book. I don't know if it was, some type of animated book. I don't know what it was, but it was a book. It was not a phone. It was not an iPad. It was a book with a
Mm,
hardcover. And from what I could see, it was words on the page and it had all of their attention. Now,
mm,
I don't know what the book was, but it was a book. It was a book. And these were kids of all cultures, and they were very much all into it at the same
mm.
time. And I saw that this whole thing lasted 10 seconds, and that just delighted me because I was like, what could that have possibly been in that book that made all those kids want to do that? So that made me really happy. So I drive on to work in Grady, and as I'm walking into Grady, I see one of my favorite security officers. What he says to me every time he sees me is, "Hey, Doc, show you right." And the response when someone says, "show you right," do you know what the response to "show you right" is?
Mm,
Okay, show you right when you know you're right. That's an old super ultra throwback saying. So the first time he ever said "show you right," and I said, "well, you know you're right," and that made him so happy that every time I see this man, he says, "show you right, Doc." I said, "Hey, when you know you're right, show you right." He said, "when you know you're right," and we fist bump and we keep going. So I saw him, and he was way far away from me, and there were several people like that could hear this, and he hollered, "Hey, Doc, show you right." And I yelled right back, "when you know you right." That made me happy
mm.
because I am a doctor, and sometimes people get in spaces where they just don't allow themselves to be familiar in front of people that are doing different things than them, especially in places that are hierarchical like hospitals.
Yes.
And I love that that is something that we have between us. And it's not just the fact that we did it, it's the fact that we did it in front of people, but it's something that we have. And I like that. That made me happy. I was in an elevator at Grady, and I was with my ward team this a couple weeks ago. All of us there, team of about 6 people. We get on the elevator, and in walks this man wearing a work uniform. Elevator's packed. His work uniform looks like he works as a mechanic of some sort. And on the patch of his uniform says Transmission King. I look at him and I say, "Hey, are you the Transmission King? Or is that just the Transmission King's uniform you're wearing?" He said, "I'm the Transmission King." This is like, it's literally 15 people in the elevator. I said, "I have questions. So who made you the Transmission King?" He's like, "I crowned myself the Transmission King." I was like, "What makes you the Transmission King?" He was like, "There is no transmission that comes to me in any shape that I cannot fix. I am the Transmission King." Turns out the person who got on the elevator with him was his homeboy. And he was like, "That ain't no lie." Said, "That ain't no lie." He said, "No, that ain't no lie, Doc. I'm telling you, he the Transmission King." I said, "Well, is there a transmission prince?" "Nope. He got daughters. They work with him." I said, "Hold up. So you the transmission king and your daughters work with you. So what are they? The transmission princesses?" He's like, "Nah, they got to work themselves up to that." So I was like, "Well, what if I come in and my issue is with, like, I don't know, my timing belt or with my radiator?" He was like, "I focus on the transmission. But if your transmission is effed up, your car gonna be effed up." And I was like, that is true. All of this happened on the elevator. Everybody on the elevator is just watching us go back and forth. I was like, "So where is the transmission king?" He was like, "It's in Kirkwood. You know, you got an issue with your transmission?" I said, "No, sir, I do not. But if I do, let me tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to call the transmission king." And his homeboy's like, "As you should, because I'm going to tell you right now, it ain't nobody better in Atlanta." And he was like, "Nobody better, period." And the elevator
Dang.
opens and they get off. And that was fucking awesome. And I Googled him, and there is a transmission king on Hosea Williams in Kirkwood. And if something happened to my transmission, I'm gonna go to him. I'm dead serious. That same day with my same team, I walk up the hall and I see one of the food services workers. And I say, "Hey, you got something good to eat today?" She said, "Well, that depends on what you got a taste for." And I said, "Well, if I'm a patient, I got a taste for something good. Did you put love in it?" She's like, "Damn right, I put love in it." And I was like, "Okay, but what if I'm on a low salt diet? Is it love in a low salt diet?" And she said, "Yeah, I can put love in a low salt diet." I said, "Is that right?" She's like, "Yep. I can even put love in the protein diet, the renal diet. I can put love in any diet." I said, "I know that's right." And then she says, "You know, my grandbaby's walking." I said, "What? For real?" And she shows me a video. I look at the baby walking. I said, "Girl, you better strap everything down." She's like, "I know that's right." And we keep rounding. My team is like, "Do you know her name?" I was like, "No." Like, "Do you know her?" I said, "Well, I know she has a grandbaby because the last time I talked to her, she told me she had a grandbaby." They're like, "How do you keep track of these things?" And I'm like,
Mm,
"I don't know. I just love people. People are awesome." So that happens. When I was in Philadelphia this weekend, I was telling you a little bit about my book club on demand. So I walk into this bookshop, Booked in Chestnut Hill. And as I'm standing in there with my friend, we're all like looking at all the books and everything. And I reach down and I see the book, The Correspondent, and I pull the book up and I say, "This is a great book. This book is awesome." And she was like, "I haven't read that book. What is it like?" I was like, "It's like a book. The whole book is letters, but it tells a story through letters between people. It is dope." So we're talking about it, and I'm like, "Yeah, this is such a great book." So I put it down. I said, "But the book that you absolutely have to stop everything and read is this one." And I reach down and I pull up the book Theo of Golden that I told you about. Remember,
mhm,
I talked about this. So I pull up Theo of Golden, and this woman turns around and she goes, "Oh my goodness, I literally just started that book. Like just started it." I was like, "That book is so awesome. It is so good." And she was like, "Oh my God, thank you for saying that. That makes me feel really good." Because I was thinking like, should I get this book? And I was like, "Oh, look, it's a great book." So I put the book back and this elderly woman walks in and she's looking around and the lady's like, "Oh, are there any other books that you think I should read?" And I'm looking around the bookstore, and the elderly woman reaches down, picks up Theo of Golden, and holds the book up and says, "This book right here, this is your next book. You must read this book." And we all looked at each other. Now, this lady is, I'm in Philly. This is an older white woman wearing a Go Birds sweatshirt. We are
mhm.
very different people. She's like, I said, "Oh my gosh, I just said this book is great." She's like, "What's your favorite part?" We start talking about our favorite part. I'm like, "No spoilers." And we're talking. She said, "And you know what? If you want to read something else really great," and she turns around and picks up The Correspondent. I
Oh
was
my
like, "Oh my gosh." So even the guy that's working behind the counter, he goes, "Do you all know each other?" "No, I live in Atlanta. I'm just walking down the street." And he's like, tells the lady, "Ma'am, she just told," and matter of fact, he said, "Do yous know each other?" Which was also a tiny delight, him saying yous,
Mhm,
because I was in Philly.
mm.
And I said, "No, we don't know each other." And the lady goes, "But we do know each other because we know good books."
Ah,
And I looked at her and I was like, "We sure do know each other." It's like 4 or 5 people standing there and we're just talking about books, which was kind of dope. Yeah. So that was really awesome. Then on my way home from Philly, I got off my flight and I go in the bathroom and I am in a line. You know, in the airport, like the bathroom closest to the gate, everybody lines up to use the bathroom. So there's a young woman. She's got a stroller. It's one of those twofer strollers. So she's got a little baby that's crying and squirming in it that looks to be about 8 or 9 months. And then she has this little toddler who needs to use a bathroom. And the big bathroom that's kind of additional size
mhm.
stall is occupied. And the kid is like, "Need to go to the bathroom." And I kind of had to go, but not that bad. And I looked at her and I said, "Can I help you?" And she looked at me and I was like, "I'm a mom and you got a lot of stuff." Oh. And the little baby was crying and she's just trying to figure out what to do. And I just reached down and I took the baby out the thing. I said, "Can I?" And she goes, "Yeah." I take the baby out and I put the baby on my hip. And I'm like, "What you talking about? What you fussing about?" And the baby stops crying. And I said, "Go on in there, use the bathroom. I'm gonna stand right here. Look at my feet. I'm right here. You're gonna hear my baby. You're gonna hear your baby. You're gonna hear my voice." And the lady goes in there with the toddler and they use the bathroom. And she comes out and I give her baby back to her. And that's it. Matter of fact, no, I followed her to the sink. She washed her hands. And then I gave her baby back to her. And then I went to use the restroom.
Mm,
What could be more ordinary than a mom needing to go to the bathroom with some little kids? That was
hmm.
awesome. And I'll bring you toward the end of this. I took the airport parking ride because I'm cheap and I didn't want to park in the airport. So I walk out to the airport parking ride and it's me by myself. And I walk up and I see a young man who appears to be about 30 or so. And he's got a stroller and it's got a little girl in it. And the little girl is probably 12 to 14 months. And she's like she's busy doing stuff. She's moving around, she's looking around, she's trying to get out of the stroller. It was very clear that the two of them had traveled somewhere. I was like, "So how old is she? About a year old or a little over a year?" He was like, 14 months. He was like, "How do you know that she's 14 months?" I said, "I'm a pediatrician by training. I like to look at what kids are doing and figure out what they're doing and see where they are." He said, "Wow, that means she's where she's supposed to be." I said, "That does mean she is exactly where she's supposed to be." And he's like, "Oh, that's what's up." So we start talking, and I said, "Is this your first baby? Where did y'all go?" And he's telling me all about it and everything. And the whole time, he is kind of tending to her in a way that I really like. It was very natural. It was very clear that he spends a lot of time with her and that he takes good care of her. And these two older women walk up and they say, "Oh, mom put you to work." And the look on his face, because me and him had been standing there for maybe about 4 or 5 minutes talking before these ladies walked up, he looked hurt
Oh,
because he was just interacting with his kid like a parent who is a doting and thoughtful and caring parent who knows what to do. And so when they said that, I felt immediately defensive on his behalf when I saw the little bit of like glimmer of hurt in his face. And I looked over at them and I said, these women were not that much older than me. I said, "Now, how y'all gonna come up and say something like that?" I said, "Yeah, I've been over here with this man for 5 minutes. And let me tell you one thing he is an expert in. That's that child right there." And he looked over at me and he smiled. He said, "I appreciate that." They said, "Nah, because honey, my husband wouldn't have never." I said, "Don't be putting what your husband do and don't do on this man." So it became all very light. I was like, "How you just gonna walk up and just decide he don't know what he doing with his own child? What you?" And the lady was like, "You know what? I stand corrected." I said, "You do stand corrected." And he was like, "Yeah." I said, He flew with this baby all the way from the West Coast." I said, "And you know why? Because that's what they do." I said, "Is that what y'all do?" He said, "That's what we do." I said,
mm,
"See?" And then she said, "Well, what her mama say?" He said, "Well, sometimes it be his mom, be the mom. Sometimes we go together. Sometimes." I said, "Exactly. What you need to tell him is that the baby's cute and that's it." So we all just laughed, but there was something about how the narratives that we create, because there's the idea of, oh, how good it is to see a black man with his child, doing the things. But sometimes even acknowledging that you are countering that narrative makes you seem anomalous, and that doesn't feel good.
yeah. Yep.
Um, and so what I forced myself to do was to focus on how natural it looked, that like why would he not be doing this? Why
Mhm.
not?
Right.
And it's particularly something I see people do to black men.
Hmm.
So that was an extraordinary sliver of ordinary.
Man.
And the very last piece was on my way home on the day when I saw the kids around the book. I was driving home and I was driving home at a time when kids are getting off buses. And, when the bus stops in the neighborhood, out goes the red stop thing, and you're supposed to wait behind it. And I was the immediate car behind this bus. And it was a bus filled with kids who were like kindergarten, first grade. And there were these young parents lined up waiting for the kids. And the kids were doing this little thing where they were like jumping from the last step into their parents' arms. Something like 4 or 5 kids in a row did this. And it was just so awesome. Just
Mm,
because the world is a mess right now. It is a hot, scary mess. But there was something so innocent and so perfect about you being a little kid at the end of your day with a big ass backpack on your back and a sheet of paper with a painting on it in your hand and feeling safe enough to leap from a step into the arms of your parent and know they're going to catch you and know it's going to be okay.
mm,
And all of those little things are just tiny shreds of all of the beauty and the wonder and the reminders that we have around us that life is good.
mm.
Even when it's bad, it's good. There's
Yes.
something somewhere. There's some beauty somewhere waiting for you. It's like in the color purple when Miss Seeley said, "I think it pissed God off to walk by the color purple and
Yes.
and not stop and regard it."
Yes.
I think it pissed God off for you
Mhm.
to walk by the extraordinary moments of our ordinary lives and not pause to appreciate it.
Mm, mm, mm. Oh, it's so good. For anybody who heard that entire sequence of events and did not find themselves smiling in the end, I want you to reach out to me directly. Not really, though. I understand. Folks have different things going on, but in general, it sometimes makes me think of, when I lead my small groups, my narrative medicine sessions, and we do our check-ins, and I'll share a prompt that is like, tell us a moment that you experienced joy or where you laughed so hard that you couldn't breathe. And by the end, inevitably, like everybody is sharing in that joy. What's so good about this was just literally like, I mean, we can picture all these different moments in your day in the elevator, like on the way home,
The
you know,
Transmission King.
all these things where you normally like are really pressed and like stressed, like why is the elevator taking so long? Why are there so many people on it? Like I got to get to work, like and now I'm stuck behind a bus. And yet, we often miss these moments to capture something extraordinarily beautiful
Hmm.
or interact with folks that are so easy to not to just like live in these parallel lives.
Hmm.
When we wonder why it's so hard to get past the stuff that we see on our phones or the stuff that's happening like in our day to day. And again, not to diminish or flatten the various experiences of suffering that folks are going through. But when you have the capacity, you don't have to look that far
Hmm.
to find hope or something that makes you smile and think like, hey, like
Hmm.
shit isn't always that bad.
Correct. I mean, to me, those moments, they're like origami. You can just keep unfolding them and unfolding them and unfolding them and unfolding them. Because, like, I found myself thinking over and over again about this guy calling himself a transmission king. And then this dude, like, co signing it. But I thought, so at what point do you think enough of yourself and have enough receipts for what you have done to have, you know what? This is my jam. I am the queen of this.
Yes.
And he said he crowned himself the transmission king. And I was like, you know what? I don't know what's better, you being the transmission king or that you said you the transmission king.
Yeah. He didn't wait for an award. Like it don't matter what they say on
No, and
Google.
that's a word, right? That's a
Yeah.
word. Like you waiting for somebody to affirm you when it's like loving eyes of your own. I don't need nobody to tell me I'm beautiful. I got loving eyes of my own, and I'm the
Mhm.
transmission king. That's dope. I love that for him. I love that for him, and I love that for anybody who is knows who they are. That's dope.
Yes. Mm, mm, mm. I'm about to tap into my own extraordinary ordinary. I've had
Yeah.
a few of these days in the last week, and it's beautiful. Particularly when you start to notice things, it becomes more and more like a routine practice. I remember Ross Gay mentioning this once he kind of started the practice. It became like you become more attuned to noticing so much more.
Hmm. Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it's more than just a gratitude journal. It's just a deepening appreciation for what's right in front of you.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
So thank you for letting us walk that path with you.
Mm. Thank you for listening. And,
Hmm.
I love that I could go on and on.
Hmm.
That that makes me really happy. So it's just like I don't know, an endless fount, you know,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
that awaits us if we would just open our eyes and take a look.
Right. I, I know that on days that I truly feel this, there's this kind of like this opening of my heart, like a
Hmm.
softening there. I'm usually one that's not that interested in talking to strangers. And yet, you know, when I find that heart space or you make eye contact, especially when I'm running around the lake and you know, people just smile and nod and yeah,
Yeah.
it there's a healing that comes through that.
Yep. It is. It's a beautiful
So
thing.
yes.
Yep. Yep. So,
Mhm.
you know, while we are not the transmission queens, here's what we are. We are about to be the podcast queens at the Society of General Internal Medicine National Meeting coming up very soon in May,
Mhm.
um, in the DC area, specifically like National Harbor. And if you have not yet registered, I think the early bird registration is about to end. But also on the Thursday of that meeting, we expect you to have your face in the place to be a part of our live audience because it's going to be awesome
With a capital A.
with a capital A. Mhm.
And maybe there'll even be swag. Who
Maybe
knows?
there will even be swag because you know what? Our old swag, my hair looks different and your hair is now
Yeah,
longer. You might have
exactly.
to, we got to
It's
upgrade Jules and Mahalia.
yes, they've been waiting. So
Good stuff. Good stuff.
yeah.
Well, sis, I hope you do some sabbatically things today. Me, I have a meeting coming up in the next hour and a half, so it's
Mm,
not sabbatically for me.
yes. Oh, I am filled with gratitude that I am not doing that, but I am extremely happy for whoever gets to be in a meeting with you. Always
Okay,
a
I'll
good
tell the ACGME that.
thing.
Yes,
Excellent.
sister. Well, you make it a most magnificent day,
Hmm.
but if you can't,
Don't you dare go messing up nobody else's.
shout out to Tab
Yes.
and shout out to us.
Amen.
Love you, sis.
Love you too. That wraps up this week's episode of the Human Doctor Podcast.
Special thanks to our favorite brother gastroenterologist, Dr. Chuma Obiname, for the beats. Shout out to the Dr. Ashley McMullen for editing and production.
Mad love to our podcast family at The Nocturnist and the Clinical Problem Solvers, our Med Twitter fam.
And especially shout out to all of you, our listeners.
Until next week, remember,
we see you and you are enough.
Holla!
Holla!